We're 22 days away from 2026, and if you're watching this video, it's probably because you've been researching St. Johns County, Florida, and you're wondering, is it actually expensive to move there? So today we're going to break down some numbers so that you have a better idea of what it may cost to move and to live in St. Johns County in 2026. And because everyone lives their day-to-day life differently, it's important to keep that in mind throughout this video. And then hopefully you can just plug in your own numbers to get a little bit more accuracy. I'll be using a hypothetical purchase price for our housing costs, some of my actual bills, and the real life numbers of living right here in Rivertown. I'm Kat Cornish, a local realtor here in St. Johns County, Florida. And if you've been wondering what life here really costs, then this video is for you. All right, so let's start with the big one, housing, because that's the number one question that get asked when anyone is researching St. Johns County or a specific community is how much does it cost to live there? So we're going to use a real number from the FloridaRealtors.org page. According to FloridaRealtors.org county reports, as of October 2025, the median sales price in St. Johns County was $550,000. So that's the number we're using for this example. Now, don't get too hung up on this number. I've helped clients buy for less, and I've helped clients buy for way more. But $550,000 gives us a great starting point for this video. As you can see on this graphic from Market Distillery, as of December 5th, 2025, the national average conventional rate was 6.21%. But for today's example, I'm going to use a worst case scenario rate, go with a 6.5%. Now it's important to note that I am not a loan officer. So your rates are going to vary based off of your credit score, your DTI, your lender, your loan program, down payment, all of those are factored in to determine what your rate will be. So I just want to make sure that I make that note so that you don't walk away from this video and expect that to be your rate. So now let's break down what a monthly mortgage payment would actually look like for a home with a purchase price of $550,000 right here in Rivertown in St. Johns County. For this example, we're using 10% down, which is $55,000, leaving us with a loan amount of $495,000. Now remember, I'm using a 6.5% interest rate for this video, and that is higher estimate than what the national average was, but it just gives us a realistic worst case scenario so nothing catches you off guard later. But again, you'll hear me say this multiple times throughout this video. Keep in mind, it can either be higher or lower. So this is going to be for a standard 30-year fixed mortgage, which is 360 payments. So here's how the mortgage payment is calculated, and we're going to use the formula that the lenders use, and we're just going to plug in the numbers that we just discussed. So once we plug in those numbers and then we put it all together, your monthly principal and interest payment comes out to $3,128.73 per month. So this is just the mortgage payment. We still have the taxes, the insurance, and the CDD fees coming. So if you're putting 10% down on a conventional loan, you will want to expect to see mortgage insurance on your bill. PMI is required anytime you put down less than 20% unless you have some special lender program or you're a VA. Now, it's not a bad thing. It just protects the lender anytime there's less than 20% of equity in the property. But the good thing is once your loan reaches an 80% loan to value ratio, then you can typically have that removed, which we can discuss that in a later video. I'm using my mortgage insurance amount for this example, which is $134.85 a month. But just for transparency, my purchase price was slightly higher than the one that we're using for today's example. So I just want to make sure that we keep that in mind as far as what a possible mortgage insurance amount would look like. For my homeowner's insurance, my policy is right around just under $2,000 a year. So what we're going to use for this example is we're just going to round it up to $2,000. And that comes out to $166.67 a month. Now that is without flood insurance. I am not located in a flood zone and it is not required, so I opted not to purchase flood insurance. Now let's talk property taxes, and I'm going to use my actual 2025 tax bill so that you can actually see how it really works here in St. Johns County. I think it's one of those things that some people either don't ever care to look at or just don't understand, especially those who are relocating here and are very unfamiliar with CDD fees and where to locate them. So the first part of the bill is called ad valorem. These are just your regular property taxes, the ones that go toward the county, the schools, the fire department, all of that. Now here's exactly what mine looked like. So county taxes, I paid $1,915.02. Schools, $2,395.60. St. Johns River Water Management District, $64.06. Fire department, $525.17, mosquito, $57.16, and inland navigation, $9.64. All of that together brought my ad valorem total to $4,966.65 for the year, which comes out to about $413.89 a month. So that is the basic property tax portion. Now, the next part of your bill, which really matters if you're moving to communities like Rivertown, is your non-ad valorem section. And this is where the CDD shows up. As you can see here, my CDD, River's Edge, is $3,165.41 a year, which breaks down to $263.78 a month. Now, you'll also see a few other charges under that non-ad valorem section on my bill, things like the solid waste disposal, solid waste collection, recycling. Now, in my case, all of those together add up to $320.64 a year, which is about $26.72 a month. So technically, that's my trash recycling service. It's just built into the tax bill instead of coming as a separate monthly utility bill. And just so you don't mix the two up, because a lot of people do, my HOA fee is only $53 paid annually, and it's due on January 1st. So it comes out to roughly about $4.50 per month, which we don't want to forget that in our monthly costs. And the CDD fee, now that is the big one, and that one is the one that you can find right there on your tax bill. And of course, when you're estimating your monthly payment, you definitely don't want to forget the CDD fee because it does make a difference. Before I move on, I do want to mention that Rivertown's very large and there's different sections throughout. So those CDD fees are based off of my lot in my neighborhood, which I'll get a little bit more into later on in this video. So make sure you stick around. For groceries and food, this is where things get a little interesting because we may shop and eat so differently. And of course, household, right? We might be a household of 2, we might be a household of 5. So this is where you're going to want to kind of plug in your own numbers. And I might eat out way more than most people do. I feel like I'm always eating in my car in between showings. Nonetheless, let's get into it. So Publix is going to be our closest grocery store here. It's going to be the most convenient. I would say Publix runs a little bit higher in the price range. I feel like I can leave Publix with 5 items and I'm spending $100 some weeks. But we also have stores like Walmart, Aldi, Trader Joe's, if you want to travel a little bit further out. But Publix from the front of Rivertown entrance is about a 3-minute drive. From my house, which is further in the back, is anywhere from 7 to 8-minute drive to Publix. So that's going to be the most convenient one. So we're going to use that as an example. And we also have the stores like Costco, BJ's, Sam's for your larger bulk purchases. So for this example, I'm going to use a $650 a month spend at a Costco, BJ's, or Sam's for my bulk items. Publix, $400 a month. And then eating out, this might be more than some others, or maybe it's less. I don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad. You can tell me, but we're going to go with $400 a month. And for total food cost is $1,450 per month. Moving on to utilities, so the basic utilities that you will see are the TECO for gas, FPL for electric, JEA for your water bill, AT&T for internet, and as far as cable goes, I don't watch too much, so I purchase a subscription for Netflix. So for my TECO gas bill, that can range anywhere from $35 to $50, but the most recent one was $46.02. Florida Power Light, $139.10. A recent JEA bill was $106.63, and AT&T is $118.90 per month, and Netflix doesn't change in that, $27.38 a month. So for this next section, I think a lot of people overlook this part. And that's home services. And these are things that are really important to think about, whether you're a first-time home buyer, you're relocating, because if you're relocating in Florida, we have St. Augustine grass, and it is, from what I hear, so different to maintain. And sometimes it's a shock to homeowners because it takes a little bit more work. So let's get to it. So for lawn care, this one is totally based on preference. A lot of homeowners will fertilize their own yard, but those who do not want to worry about it, it's best to reach out to a company. For Julentine Creek Pest Control, they do handle fertilizer and treatments of the lawn, and that can run you about $90 a month. For pest control, again, we are here in Florida, so we do have a lot of bugs, we have critters. I use All You Need Pest Control, and it's about $95 every quarter, which breaks down to about $32 a month, which I think is totally worth it. Now, I don't have a pool, but a ton of people here either have one, or if they are relocating to Florida, they want one. So I'm going to use an example from a house that I just sold where the seller provided all the information to the buyer. Their monthly service with hidden gem pools was $885 a month. And then there's cleaning services. So I actually have someone come once a month for a deep clean, my 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom office, and it's roughly 2,800 square foot home, which I paid $275 a month for. I'm sure there's services that you can find that are possibly cheaper. I know you get a good deal if you do have them come multiple times a month, but I pay $275 for a once a month deep clean. So let's talk transportation. And this is another one that gets a little sneaky and can add up really fast depending on the car, the type of car you drive, as well as, transportation to work. How much are you driving? So let's break it down. Now for reference, I do drive an Acura RDX, which is nothing wild, but I usually spend for gas around $120 to $200 a month, depending on how much I'm driving. My gas tank fills up anywhere from 15 to 17 gallons, I believe. And to just stay consistent with our realistic worst case number theme in this video, I'm using the higher end, which is going to be $200 a month. And my car payment right now is $525 a month. Some people have lower, some people have 2 car payments, but we're sticking with actual numbers. And because we're talking about Rivertown, of course, we have to add in a golf cart. Now, golf carts are basically the unofficial vehicle of the neighborhood, so you will always be riding around in them, especially if you're heading out to the amenities. We use them for sunset rides, going to the river house, if you want to do food truck Fridays, again, it's a whole lifestyle. My golf cart payment is $376.16 a month. We can't forget car insurance. I pay $700 every 6 months. So when you break that down, it's about $58 a month. I have a 15-year-old who will be turning 16 January, getting his license in March. So that will change drastically. If we add all that together, my monthly transportation costs come out to $1,159.16 per month. Now, based off of the expenses and examples that we used in this video, it is time to put those numbers together to kind of give you a good rough estimate of what it looks like for your monthly costs living here in St. Johns County, especially in Rivertown. Our total monthly housing cost comes down to $4,139.06. Our total monthly food cost comes out to $1,450. Our total monthly utilities, $437. Our total monthly miscellaneous home services, $582. And our total monthly transportation cost come out to $1,159.16 for an estimated monthly cost of living at $7,767.22 per month. So all in, based on a $550,000 purchase price with 10% down and a 6.5% interest rate with some of my realistic bills, we're looking at roughly $7,500 to $7,800 a month to live in Rivertown. Now, this number might seem high and it might seem low depending on where you're moving from, but if you're moving from somewhere like New York, New Jersey, parts of Chicago, this might actually sound just like a pretty reasonable number, especially for this resort style living. Now, if you're coming from the Midwest or a lower cost of living state, then it might be a little bit of a sticker shock, but I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think it is too expensive, or do you think it's totally worth it? Now, as I mentioned earlier when we were reviewing my 2025 property tax bill and talking about the CDD fees in Rivertown, they do vary in this community depending on which section you are located in. So it is so important that when you are searching online that you make sure that you factor in the CDD fees. So I'm going to show you an example of how they vary from each neighborhood. As you can see here, and for reference earlier, my CDD fee for 2025 was $3,165.41, and I'm located in the Ravines. The Cove is a new neighborhood, a new section they just started building this year, and it is a copycat of the floor plans that are in the Ravines, but as you can see, the total CDD jumped up to about $1,000. And then, of course, when you get into the 60-foot and 70-foot lots, they go up even more, almost doubling mine. So always compare CDD fees when shopping in Rivertown because it does matter. If this video helped you understand the real cost of living in St. Johns County, Florida, let me know in the comments. And if you want to see another community broken down with their numbers, their CDD fees, their HOA fees, then just let me know which one you want to see next. We can do SilverLeaf, Nocatee, Beach Walk, Julene Creek, even some resales. If you want something a little bit more personalized, feel free to call or text me. I'll leave my phone number, my contact information in the description below. I'm Kat Cornish, your local realtor here in St. Johns County, Florida. If you're looking to buy, sell, or relocate, I'd love to be your resource. I'll see you in the next one.